This time is a highlight of the entire course. So far, we have talked about intellectual property. Why do you get patent? And what is the ultimate goal of IP? I am sure that you won't get patent for hanging it on the wall. Invention in laboratory and patent certificate in paper is meaningless. That's why I prepare intellectual property finance course. This class matters. I'd like to start with these two magnets in this picture. And the North Pole of the magnet represents inventor. And S, the South Pole signifies the investor. Can you find anything strange here? If you can guess the right answer, you don't have to take any more class. Have you thought about the answer? Scientifically, as you know, the same pole, such as two North Poles or two South Poles, should repel each other. And different poles, such as North and South and North, should attract one another. However, the poles in the picture do not attract each other. Why? Why they don't attract each other? Because there is not enough magnetic field. This time, I am going to talk about how we can make enough magnetic field to attract each other. For North Pole to be attractive to South Pole, invention should be valuable asset. It's the pattern which we consider very important an asset or expense. We naturally think patents as asset. In terms of accounting, an asset is defined as an item that is either cash generating, or exchangeable for cash. However, are patents really cash generating or exchangeable? If you want, you can exchange the patent with money, cash. That's exactly what I am curious about. Given the rate of commercialization of patents is unfortunately, we can see that lots of patents are still trapped in paper, patent certificate, without being commercialized. A quarter of patents from private companies who hold patents for various purposes, including defensive purposes, are not commercialized. In case of colleges and public research institutes who don't need defensive purpose patent, two-thirds of their patents, about two-thirds of their patents are not commercialized. That's the big problem. Because of this kind of symptom, Korean IP policy is pursuing pivot to utilization as a new paradigm that will help turn IP creation strategy into IP utilization strategy. To find the causes of a low patent commercialization rate, we need to look at the supply market of patents first. In Korea, one of the world's top 5 patent power, about 210,000 patents are created each year, and roughly 50% of the applications are registered. We estimate annually 40 or 50,000 of patent rights are supplied into intellectual property market, including patents from not practicing entities such as universities or research institutions and individual inventors who are considering a patent trade. How about demand side of a patent? Companies overwhelmingly prefer in-house development to license closed innovation rather than open innovation. The statistics show the trend, with only 1.5% of technology acquisition through licensing. Although I don't know the current situation in other countries, I assume it is similar to that in Korea. The most urgent task in this situation is to create IP demand. Korean government need to focus our energy on building pipeline with potential licensees. IP transaction and transfer center of KIPA, the organization which I worked for, is playing a leading role. The type of technology transfer has to change too. The pull method is more effective than the push method in excessive supply market. In the past, it was about developing good patents first and then licensing the patents in the market. But now, it is about reading the market's demand and then looking for patents to meet the demand. Currently, when the demand is submitted to online IP market, IP transaction consultant can make deals offline, which is called online to offline platform. We put our whole energy to establish pipeline for IP demand because the market is excessive supply market. Due to such a demand-driven effort, patent transactions have been on the rise. Although the statistics for patent transactions in the private sector are difficult to obtain, it's an area of a trade secret rather than patent area. They would like to hide their strategy because so it is not that easy to obtain private sector's performance. We can see that transactions are definitely increasing in the public sector. The second strategy we are working on for the meeting between the North Pole and the South Pole is cross-pollination. Isn't it said that cross-pollination is much more likely to create a dominant than self-pollination? Previously, the government made a one-sided effort in the IP field to promote innovation, but now organizations in the IP and financial sectors are promoting innovation together. The Korean Intellectual Property Office and the Financial Services Commission established their IP finance policy together in 2018. It seems to have made a significant impact on the active flow of intellectual property. IP finance is categorized roughly into two types: invention capital and IP-owned SME, small and medium-sized enterprises finance. Invention capital means finance on IP itself. Cash flow is accomplished when IP is used in trade or litigation, which is called IP monetization. IP-owned SMEs finance means IP commercialization. Cash flow is, unlike invention capital, accomplished when IP owners do his own business. IP finance is executed in three ways: IP secured loan, IP guaranteed loan, and IP investment. Three types. The area we've been focusing on lately is IP secured loan. SMEs hope to utilize their IP as a collateral for raising funds besides the real estate. The government tried to operate IP-backed loan projects several times in the past, but it was difficult to overcome the lack of bankers' cooperation. The banks think it's too risky compared to their profit because there was no liquidation market in case of non-performing loans. Financial sectors constantly require government to share their risk, and the two agencies finally agreed to build a joint safety net. That is the IP liquidation and recovery vehicle, one of the safety net. IP recovery vehicle was officially launched in 17th of February this year. I wonder if you may notice me in this picture. I presented a vision of a recovery vehicle to the whole financial sectors. At the opening ceremony, not only Financial Services Commission and KIPO, but also delegates of nationwide commercial banks attend in person and express their will. As our recovery vehicle is the world's first known program, many countries are trying to benchmark us. Based on successful start of a recovery vehicle, KIPO and the Financial Services Commission are trying to challenge next step, which is called blanket lien, and some countries called floating charge. The government is trying to expand corporate financial credit, combining intellectual property with account receivable, inventories, and machineries, etc. Blanket lien, which the United States, United Kingdom, and Canada take advantage of, will be legally enforced in Korea as early as this year. From now on, I'm going to talk about IP investment, not guaranteed or secured loan. As you know, investment accompanies considerable risk because investors have to take some responsibilities for their own decision. Very risky. Government raised the fund of funds on the conception of priming water to boost IP investment. Have you ever pumped in a well? When priming water is poured, water can be raised much more easily. Purpose of a fund of funds is like this. Government will participate as a limited partner and select general partner. Then general partner is supposed to bring private equities as another limited partner. We already raised $217 million last year. More than $250 million is expected to be raised this year. However, overall fundraising growth temporarily slowed down because of impact of coronavirus. So far, we have looked at the demand generation in market and cross-pollination in finance for the meeting between North Pole and South Pole. The next thing I'm going to introduce is, in a way, the most important and most essential way to ensure the asset quality of the asset. Imagine how ridiculous it is if a patent becomes invalid after the patent is purchased and financed. Isn't it great risk for the company? This slide shows the annual invalidation rate. Although the invalidation rate is low, considering the total number of granted patents. As I told you, annually more than 100,000 patents are granted. However, among half of them can be invalidated in the event of trial. In case of a quarrel, they can be invalidated. This undermines the value of patents, as I said. Recognizing the problem, Korean Intellectual Property Office is trying to lower this ratio to 33% by 2022. Following the invalidation rate of patents, let's look at the winning rate of a patentee. The fact that my patent was not invalid, and that the other party violated my patent is completely different. Another story, another logic. The patentee must prove and contend that the other party has infringed his patent. It's not that easy. According to statistics, the patentee was able to win only 78 out of 283 cases. In the United States, patent holders win about 65% of lawsuits, while in Korea, they win only 25%. The damages is also a problem. The average amount of damages from winning patent infringement is under $100,000. Even if they win invalidate dispute and infringement lawsuit, low damage undermine the value of patents. Fortunately, small institutional changes have begun to emerge on the perception that this series of IP environment is a problem. First, punitive damages for IP infringement was introduced in July 2019. It's a big signal to the market because the damages can be up to 3 times the lost profit in case of intentional infringement case. Second, we can change the method of calculating lost profit. According to the past regulation, capacity of a patentee was considered as upper limit of lost profit. No matter how much profit the infringer made, it couldn't be recognized as a lost profit if the patentee had no production capacity. To overcome this irrationality, the system has been improved for the patentees to get reasonable license fee exceeding their capacity. I think this kind of improvement will increase the asset value of the patent. As we've seen before, establishing IP demand, cross-pollination, and regulation improvement are very important for the meeting between North Pole and South Pole. At this point, there is one concern about the bubble we experienced. Kosdaq, one of the Korea stock index, declined tremendously from 283 to 53 points in 2000. And Kosdaq Venture Index fell from 787 point to 92 point during that period. Korea economy had a painful experience at that time, resulting in trauma to Korea economy. From this severe suffering, we realized how important the valuation is. As I told you, intangible asset has a high risk, high return character. It can be invalidated. It is not that easy to win in the infringement case. So, articulate and reliable valuation must be done before investment. To prevent the recurrence of a bubble, report from 20 certified IP valuation institutions can be used for collateral. KIPA designates the IP valuation institution through capacity verification. Ideally, it would be better to let the market take its program at some point. However, we are planning to maintain current system for a while. Because IP valuation requires lots of money and time, system evaluation using big data is also being activated. Like credit rating, patents are also rated in several grades. KIPA is now operating IP rating system called Smart3 by exploring big data. You can enter patent registered number in order to identify patent grade in real time. This service is currently only available for Korean, United States, and Europe patents only. But we are now developing rating system for Chinese patent this year and for Japanese patent in 2021. After developing 5 systems, we can cover more than 80% of a worldwide patent through this rating system. Smart3 analyze and evaluate patents into 9 grades, from AAA to single C. Patents over B grade can get financial guarantee up to 100,000 per patent. Now, that is the front page of a Smart3 system. Actually, I would like to some kind of simulation where you can choose any patent from your own countries and run simulation on it. However, due to the limited time and circumstances, I think we should take a rain check on the simulation. I wish there will be another occasion where we can give it a try. This slide shows current IP financial scale. After establishment of comprehensive policies, Korean IP finance market has experienced a rapid increase in 2019 and finally was able to accomplish $1 billion. All over 3 parts of IP finance have grown up respectively, and IP secured loans showed remarkable growth especially. In 2019, IP secured loan increased by almost 5 times over a year. Our initial plan was to raise $2 billion by 2022. However, we expected to achieve our goal this year, 2 years earlier. What we are thinking about now is creating IP finance market that works by market force, not policy force. Currently, intellectual property finance has been grown up by the power of policy, but we hope to increase by the power of a market. Our goal is to create a sustainable market that works normally, even if the government exists, and leave it to market autonomy. It's time to wrap up. Can you find difference of the picture with the first phase of the class? Yes, there is a strong magnetic field. At the first page, there is no magnetic field, but this slide shows some kind of a strong magnetic field. How can you achieve this kind of unbelievable magnetic field between inventor pole and investor pole? As I told you, we can achieve it with 4 efforts. First, to establish a demand-driven IP transaction market, because our market is excessive supply market. Second, to settle down cross-pollination in IP finance market. It is more beneficial. Third, to build the IP-friendly legal system. And lastly, to design rational and reliable IP valuation mechanism. I hope that this innovation takes strongly place in your countries. May I give you some quiz before finalizing my class? I'm going to give you 3 quizzes. First one, is a patent an asset or an expense? You have to answer with a legal mind, not looking at your reality. Second, can patents be used as collateral? I have already told you a lot about this, so you may check your answer very easily. And third one, what type of IP financing invests in IP itself, not in a company that owns IP? In this case, you could make some kind of cash flow from trading and litigation. It's the opposite concept of IP-owned SMEs finance. Thank you for your participating in my class. And if you have any question, please don't hesitate to contact me at my email address. And some of you would like to enter your country's patent using my system, rating system. Please show and send me your patent number. I'm going to give you some kind of rating report to you as present. Thank you.